Hey guys, this is the Dresden Files podcast, episode 3. Thanks for joining us again. My name is Alex, and these are my co-hosts, Justin,
Hello.
with his awesome Monarch Securities t-shirt. Look at how awesome that is. It's great. Chris,
Hi, everyone.
the other Alex,
Hi, Alex Power.
yes, and Ruth is back with us again. Hey, Ruth.
Hello there.
Today we are going to talk about two different things. We're going to talk about the 7 laws of magic, and then in the next half we're going to talk about our favorite villains. So, Justin, can you lead us off by telling us the 7 laws of magic?
Yes, yep, I totally can when I find my mouse. No. Okay, so the 7 laws of magic. First law everybody should know is thou shalt not kill with magic. That's kind of, the thing that starts it off. The second law of magic is thou shalt not transform others. No polymorphing. The third law of magic, thou shalt not invade the mind of another. The fourth law of magic, thou shalt not enthrall another. The fifth law of magic is another famous one. Thou shalt not reach beyond the borders of life, that generally is considered to outlaw all forms of necromancy. The sixth law of magic, thou shalt not swim against the currents of time. And then finally, the seventh law of magic, thou shalt not open the outer gates.
Awesome. So, which ones do you guys think Harry has kind of violated?
I think it's pretty obvious he did the first one, so get that one out of the way.
But some of us were saying he didn't necessarily violate it, right? Who was saying that before?
I know I was arguing that obviously there was a little bit of a technicality, otherwise Morgan would have just chopped off his head, because that's what Morgan does, and he's been doing it really good for 200 years, so... but like in the strictest sense, yes. But as Morgan likes to point out, he got off on a technicality. So
And Ebenezer McCoy.
Yeah.
That's the only reason he survived.
that's true. That's true. Because somebody had to vouch for him as he did for Molly. So
And if the Black Staff does that, they take notice.
yeah, right.
How guys do you think? How different do you guys think Harry Dresden's life would have been if he didn't get vouched for? Do you think he would have been killed immediately? Do you think he would have escaped?
I think he would have been killed immediately.
Yeah, he would have been killed right there and then.
Yeah. They mentioned how similar with Molly and proven guilty that he was bound and had a bag over his head, and then it was even obscured, like he didn't understand who was talking, which is why he didn't realize that Ebenezer had vouched for him. So, like, I mean, you could not be more vulnerable, which is kind of the point, I think.
What if he was resurrected?
I
Okay, so they
don't,
kill him, but
right. I don't know that any of the powers were that invested in him at that point in time, and I mean, Mab can't lie. She's not even that invested in him now. Like he wasn't dead. He was mostly dead, because if he was all dead, you could only look through his pockets for loose change.
Yeah, but the idea is that God and angels see, like, they're, what's it called, where you can see everything at once, all the time.
Right.
Americans.
So it's possible that Alex is right, that he may have been resurrected.
Or they would have picked a different agent, because I mean, of all the things that were at stake in Skin Game, even Uriel didn't like directly intervene so much as he just gave Michael a gun and said, or a jet plane, so that he could use the lights, so
Yeah, that's a good point. So has he violated the rule about necromancy?
No.
Well, technically he didn't.
right, technically. So
Because
right, because the laws mostly concern mortal magic as it pertains to mortals, and that's where he usually skirts it, because I think it's also the third law, right, that Morgan cites in Stormfront, where he's binding these creatures to his will, or it's fourth, one of the two. They're both mind things.
Yeah, it's
So
thou shalt not enthrall others, and Morgan
Right.
was saying him exploiting Toot Toot in the first book was breaking the fourth law.
right.
Yeah, and Harry said it isn't because Toot Toot is mortal.
Well, and then also he argued that he has a choice when he traps him in a circle, like to not take his deal.
Yeah, exactly. And he wasn't enthralling him. He knew Toot Toot's name. He called out.
What other laws do you think Harry's gonna break next? Like, soonest?
I hope he transforms someone into a frog finally.
Who do you think he would transform into a frog?
I hope it would be the Merlin.
That was my first thought, actually. Yeah, hopefully it's a Merlin.
Can you imagine that? And then Mab's just like, stop it.
She would probably do something smug like raise her eyebrow and be like, squeamishness does not become the winter night, so you should have just outright killed him.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been easier.
There's the 7 laws of magic. That would have been crazy. That would be crazy if he killed the Merlin of the White Council. What do you guys think that would happen after that? Would the White Council go to war with the Winter Court?
I don't know.
This is an
I
interesting.
don't think Mab would actually back Harry that much. I think she would just like turn him over, and the White Council would kill him.
Damn. All right. What other laws? What other laws do you think he's gonna break? You think? Because we know in Mirror Mirror there's going to be time stuff.
And that's the one that I'm waiting for, really. I want to see what he does with time travel, because there's plenty of shenanigans in every kind of fantasy or even science fiction where when you introduce time travel, things get fun, And Butcher's already decided he was going to go to the wall with, the illusions that Lash was able to put out. So I can only imagine what shenanigans Harry's going to get into with time travel.
Do you guys think that the part of the reason why Butcher decided to make them both part of the Winter Court is because it puts them beyond the reach of the White Council?
I think they were geared towards that before that was even a concept.
Yeah, I think it's possible, but I don't think Butcher's doing anything that was going to pull Harry out of hot water, right? That's not really his MO. I think it's definitely more along the lines of, hey, that whole thing with the Outsiders is kind of a big deal, and we just made sure that Harry was in the right place at the right time when that breaks. So.
That's true. It's so I don't think any of us actually said this yet, and if someone did, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. But that Butcher has already said that Harry is going to break all 7 laws.
I think he rephrased it that they will be broken. Whether or not Harry does it is the question.
Or
gotcha.
did he say that?
Mm-hmm.
Not that Harry's going to break them?
Yeah, just that all 7 will be broken.
Oh man, that's disappointing. Because we've already seen almost all 7 be broken. So
right. If that's the case, yeah, because definitely the 4th and 3rd laws are broken on a regular basis or bent with, Molly and Harry running around doing shenanigans.
Second law would be broken by the Black Council in the 2nd book when they gave the FBI guys the Wolfpelt belt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was going to say even, not that she's bound to them at all, but Leah definitely transformed everybody into dogs herself as well, so.
That is breaking the law.
Yeah. If we're just going down the laws that have been broken, I mean, holy cow, that's all 7 pretty much, right?
They've all been broken. Technically, the 6th law may not have been broken.
Right. Except I would bet dollars to donuts Rashid breaks that on a regular basis. So
I don't think he'll actually break it. He just kind of finds the line where it can't be broken and peeks over it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think Rashid breaks it because they said what's his name? Who comments on Rashid coming back in time? I think it's Ebenezer, or someone is explaining to Harry that Rashid can't. He can only subtly hint at it, because otherwise he could end up destroying the reality.
Right. So, I mean, at the very least, I think he can see different points in time, and he has a limited ability similar to what you mentioned with the angels, where
Yeah.
like he can see multiple outcomes and guard even, right? But I don't know. There are some things where he just seems to like show up before everybody else, cough, demon reach, cough, and have a conversation that it's like, wait, how did you find out about this? I wasn't even ready for this.
Well, it's sort of implied that he has the same level of relationship with the fairies that Dresden's mother did, I think. So he might have contacts that. It's also been implied that, like part of the way that the White Council finds people after they commit crimes is by going to the Never Never and talking to people, talking to beings, right?
Interesting.
So,
okay.
So I think that might be part of it. I don't. And also, the sixth law specifically prohibits swimming against the currents of time, meaning changing things. So.
Or going back in time is the way that I had interpreted it.
So I don't think that we've seen that yet.
Well, it's been explained a little bit, like what Merlin had to do to create Demon Reach. Would you consider that breaking the sixth law?
No, because he was doing the same thing in many different times. That is such a mind-boggling concept. Bob's right.
Right, and Bob had to dumb it down before we could understand it. So,
Chris, what was that?
Speech is difficult this morning.
It's
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you interpret the sixth law, because, yeah, if one way, which is just no time travel at all, then it definitely, I would say the Merlin, broke it for sure, because he went back in time to set up the spells for Demon Reach. But if it's just changing it, which, reading the description, it says the purpose of it is avoiding paradox, and that's sort of my take on it. Is you don't change stuff. Would be actually breaking the law as far as the intent goes. Then I guess I don't even think Rashid has broken it yet, because like we've been discussing, it's more nudging people towards a possible timeline than outright deciding this is going to be the new timeline and acting to make that happen.
No, I agree. Okay, I think this is also a good time to talk about one of my favorite parts of Skin Game. Do you guys think that, I might have already asked this on one of the other episodes, do you guys think that Hannah Ascher was justified in killing those people? In killing the
wardens?
Yeah, the people who, so her story was that I think 3 people she killed because they were attempting to rape her.
Oh, right.
Do you guys think that she was justified? Also, we don't have to talk about this if anyone is uncomfortable talking about this, but I think it's a really interesting way of challenging the laws and that idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it's important to see like how she killed them. Dresden said that she burned them from the inside out. That's pretty intense intention, rage, and power, and she believed that it was right to do it, and that is pretty scary. If she just like wanted them to get away from her, push them away with like force or something, and accidentally broke their necks, that's completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you can't argue self-defense if you shot someone 16 times.
Well, looking at it from another perspective, right? Her fire magic is her best, and probably only really. It's kind of hinted at. It's really like her only talent.
Uh-huh.
So, and it's also kind of seen that spell specifically is like her reflexive. Like she has to practice for a day before she can do the spell that she needs to do in order to break into the vault, right? So you can see, based on all the other magic she does, that her reflex is to burn someone from the inside out. So, maybe she didn't consciously want to kill someone, but that was like her reflexive action to protect herself. What do you guys think?
Well, Dresden said basically that she had never ever done any form of protective magic. She couldn't do anything when they were attacked by the Octagons. He just burned something and then ran away.
Mm-hmm.
It's because that she did think that way.
So do you guys think that makes it more justified?
Yeah, I don't. Here's where I'm gonna split that hair. So I think that I understand her choice, but I don't know that I like it. That doesn't give her enough leeway to just kind of bend it, because like Chris saying, even whether it was control or not, like there had to have. I don't know. It's hard to argue,
Yeah.
and you don't want to wind up blaming the victim or anything, right? But like I could think of 100 other things to do with fire that didn't involve incinerating a guy from the inside out, and that level of power is there, and certainly maybe she didn't have the level of control, but most of us have probably seen Firestarter, and like she lights the building on fire before people die. Like there are other signs and stuff. So it's hard to say, and I think even Dresden empathizes with her to a point because he identifies that her story was similar to his story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And certainly I think that those two, attempted murder and attempted rape are, pretty in the same category, as far as right to defend yourself with lethal force. But I think the how she did it enters into that as well. So
I would also factor in the fact that she never gave herself up. She just kept running, and everybody who came after her got the same deal.
Right. And yes, and you're absolutely right. How she handled it afterwards is also important to note, in that she didn't just be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I was in a tough spot and I had no other choice," which Dresden kind of like threw himself at the mercy of the court, more or less. Whereas she was like, "How about I just burn down everybody who even comes to ask me a question?" So,
Chris, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, you make a lot of good points. I would say, though, just to add on, like her handling of the situation after, that might be a product of the White Council's reputation as being hardline, zero tolerance. Like she's like, "Oh crap, I killed someone. There's no throwing myself on the mercy of the court. They're going to murder me, so I need to get out of here." But yeah, I agree with Justin's points. Just overall, it's one of those things where it's too tricky to say one way or the other. Like I do empathize and can sort of put myself in the mindset where that might have been something that I would have done, but to out and out say it was justified or not justified, it's too heavy.
Yeah, I didn't mean to pit it that way. I was just trying to kind of play devil's advocate a little and see what you guys thought. But it kind of informs a larger topic and like a larger question, right? Like, because the idea is also, I think that the three people that she killed were mortals, which kind of, right? The idea is you cannot use magic to kill someone, no matter what. And I think Harry was given some leeway because the other person was a wizard who was also using magic to try and kill him. But when you use magic to kill mortals who have no way of defending themselves against someone using magic, you know what I'm saying? It kind of. But so my next question is going down the list, or at least between Harry and Molly. A, do you think that Harry was guilty? Do you think that Harry should have been killed? Now we're talking about Harry in this situation.
should he have been killed with Dumorn?
Yes.
I think the answer is no for a couple of different reasons. One of them's practical in the sense that we wouldn't have a book series if he had died.
Unless it was zombie Harry.
I would have been the Mr. Files, who just following a cat around.
But yeah, outside of that, I think Harry was well within the bounds of lethal defense of self, just even by mortal laws. Like, you basically, let's just say no magic was involved. You come home and your adoptive sister / girlfriend is like bound and held in the kitchen, and the dude's chasing you through the house with a gun. Like, it might be hard because you're technically a minor, and all this other stuff. But I think at the end of the day, there isn't a court that would convict him for that, at least not in this country. So.
Well, maybe not. There certainly isn't a court that would sentence him to death.
Right.
Which is kind of where I stand on it. Like, do I think he should have been executed? Absolutely not. But I'm one of the people that won't say Harry bent the first law. He broke it. He killed someone with magic. And I think it informs like his character a lot in the early books too, because he constantly says, like, I don't know if I'm a good guy. I've murdered someone with magic, and that does things to you.
And I think it's important to address that though as well, because it comes from what white magic is, at being based in life, and why even evocations, as powerful as they are technically life magic and white magic and not black magic, aka necromancy and bending people's minds and stuff like that. So to me that's heavy, because it's like, going back to the gun analogy, it's like believing that guns are only meant to be used in self-defense, and they're only meant to be used to hunt and to give food, and then you use that to, like, murder somebody. But really, I don't think what he did was murder, and so I think that Harry has that, he has to deal with that in his identity, but I don't know. Obviously, we're different people, because if somebody came at me with a magic wand and tried to burn me to the ground, I wouldn't even hesitate. So with Harry's thing, just because he believes that he got Ebenezer's, life is magic and magic is life, and the birds are important, and this is how you take care of animals and how you help birth cows and horses and all this stuff. He got focused so much on the life part of it. Of course, I guess that was after the fact too, wasn't it? So, but yeah, I think that weighs into his, reflection on that, and it's like, I used a great, beautiful, creative force for terrible, evil purposes.
Right. So you think that Harry is unduly hard on himself for using magic because of the training he received?
I think in that instance, potentially, I think it's super important, because one of the things I think that is so attractive as Harry as a character of power is the fact that he is always trying to restrain that power and make sure that he's only using it in defense of the weak. Mm-hmm. And so, as long as he toes that line, then he's fine. But as soon as you start collecting power for power's sake, that's the part where he starts to push those bad guy limits. And, you see that in changes. It's like, you don't understand. Like, I would literally burn the world down as long as me and the kid could roast marshmallows afterwards. Like, there are 3 deity-level powers that I can talk to, and I just need to find the one that's going to cost me the least amount of my soul to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's where he starts to be like, wait, am I still playing for the right team? And you see that in Cold Days and Skin Game especially.
Cool. Anybody else? Because now the next question is, do you guys think that Molly deserved to be killed? Both times. So there's twice that she broke the laws of magic, right? Once when 3 times, I guess. The first 2 when she violates her friends' minds, and the 3rd time when she invades Lucio's mind while she's sleeping.
I think the White Council is just a little bit too draconian. It's kind of like what Chris was saying, that maybe, okay, I killed someone, and White Council's not going to let it go, so I have to run if I'm going to live. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of continues snowballing because of the fact that they believe that their back is against the wall. And like all the arguments that Harry had with Lucio, if they have prevention, if they have more support, people won't start using the laws of magic badly. The kid that they had to kill in the beginning of Proven Guilty, he was too far gone. Molly was not. And they need to have a little bit more of a grayer look at it.
And it's important, Molly wasn't gone yet. I mean, she was pretty close, though. Some of the conversations that she and Harry had about it, she was like, I have the power to fix it. And she was on that slippery slope where it's like, I have power and I know what's right, and therefore I'm going to make what I know is right the reality of the world. Mm-hmm. And she didn't realize the harm she was causing, which is how she was able to come back from the brink and get some of that training and have Harry vouch for her and stuff like that. But I think even Morgan talks about it potentially either in Proven Guilty or in Turncoat. I want to say at some point they had a conversation that the reason why they kill them is because they always turn. They always come back to bite you. They always go evil. And like the one exception so far is Harry, but even Harry's not convinced of that.
Well, they always go evil if they don't have someone else to train them or watch over them. And to speak to Alex's earlier point, right, that it's draconian. Well, and what's her name comments on this. Lucio comments on this when she talks about Harry's mother, because Harry's mother kind of thought the same thing. But you can either have it one way or the other. Where do you start defining when it's okay and when it's not okay? If you break the laws, you die. That way, anytime the laws are broken, they don't have to go back and decide, well, should we kill them or should we not kill them?
Right. And that's a super good point. So.
It's kind of harsh because most of those kids they put down they're just teenagers who have no idea what they're actually doing. Nobody has told them. They have no idea what the laws are. They just have incredible power in their teenage fucked up minds. Oh my god, I do not miss being a teenager. And it's some of the aspects. I get why Molly did what she did. She had the power to help them, and in her mind, she did help them because nobody taught her better. And probably the kid that they put down, well, he was kind of evil, but there are so many aspects to this. Why? Well, of course they're putting kids down when they have taught them nothing. I get that they have limited resources, but shouldn't they have had like some sort of grid to find children with magical powers and teach them so they wouldn't go bad? It's kind of nature versus nurture and all that.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's what Harry was arguing with Lucio about. Like, preventative measures would be much better than just killing everyone who breaks the law.
Exactly.
The thing that always got me was they convene, right? They get together and have a trial for these people, but they're not actual trials. Like, they're not looking at the crimes case by case like we do in our society and decide, are there mitigating factors? Is this something that we can let slide? Those trials, there's no defense or anything. It's just, okay, they broke it, we're going to kill them now. It's a trial in the very loosest sense of the word.
And if you are going to advocate for one of them, you put your own life at stake. So if someone is afraid, they're not going to ever support a kid who just made a mistake.
Well, so this is also an important thing to note, right? Right, that their laws and system of justice is not the same as ours, right? So, and that's part of the problem. Like Harry, he's a lot younger by Wizard standards, and he grew up inoculated in our society. But you're talking about people who are 200, 300 years old, who grew up in much different times, right? A, that. B, the system of laws is just different. It's not the same as ours. There's no due process. There's no guilty without a reasonable doubt. And that's just the way they do it. Fair or not fair, right or not right. That's how they do it.
Right, and that's entirely Harry's problem with it, though. Not only that it's not perfect, but say that sentence again, fair or not fair, that's how they do it, and they're just not our laws, and that just puts them apart. And does that make them better than everybody else? Because you get into that wizard arrogance where, they decide what's right and wrong as far as mortal magic is concerned. And that's kind of Harry's thing. It's like, wait a minute, like, who put us in charge, and why do we get to decide which kid lives and dies and everything like that? So.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm remembering when Lucio was talking to Harry about why the laws are what they are, and that, like, what Margaret was wanting to do and have them control more would just make it worse. They only can restrain the wizards from doing what they want to do with saying that, okay, you can't do the really bad stuff, that'll just make you worse. And it's kind of like that's the line that the White Council has to stay at, for the White Council not to become corrupted more. And I get it, but they're not handling it right, and they need to have better advocacy and prevention. It's just like they're doing it badly, but they're growing, hopefully.
But Ruth, were you going to say something?
No.
So to keep playing devil's advocate, kind of, I mean, it's either put more resources into finding younger wizards and preventing it, or keep protecting all of wizard kind and all of mortal kind, right? How do you do both?
The White Council's job isn't to protect humanity from the monsters necessarily. It's protect humanity from other wizards.
Right. That's what.
And so that's their perspective, right? What I want to see and what I hope happens towards the end, and I feel like he could almost write an entire other book series based off of the aftermath. What I imagine is going to happen. What's the answer to that? Where do you get all those resources? Maybe it's those minor powers you've been stiffing for centuries. Maybe you do what Harry's done and you create a Paranet where not only can they watch each other's backs against powers like the Fomor, but they can find these powers early and they can tell them, look, like, these are the reasons why you don't break the laws of magic, because, you know, even if they go as far as to say, like, because the wardens are out there and they're boogeymen and they're hiding under your blankets, who cares? But, like, that's the resource, that's the manpower you get there. You know, they in the cities where they have the Paranet set up and it's successful, you hear in Cold Days especially, and even some in Skin Game, that they are able to help stop the Fomor, at least from taking people, at the very least.
Hey, Justin for Merlin 2016.
I gotta collect more bottle caps, so.
I've got a bunch.
Nice.
Anything else about the 7 Laws of Magic?
So, it keeps saying against mortals, but mortals means humans, right?
Right, technically.
Well,
so I could
plain
invade the mind of my dog to make sure he doesn't pee on the carpet. Would that be breaking the law?
No. That is correct, according to the books.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because they refer to mortals, but they mean it as far as humans, but I think it also includes stuff like changelings, that they're technically mortal, you know, but they're half fairy. And then you've got whatever Mac is he's presumably mortal. Presumably Guard is mortal. You know, so there are a few things. We haven't run into a lot of non-human mortals, but I think they're out there. But if you're mortal. She's not mortal in the typical sense, neither is Mac, really. I mean, they have some pretty serious regenerative abilities, but I don't think Guard would just... Like, she couldn't just hold the line against 20 Denarians and then come out on top. Like, she's still... Like, they would turn her into paste, and then that would be the end of that story. Maybe she'd come back, but...
Isn't Guard a Valkyrie, though? Isn't that been confirmed in one of the...
And she's about 1,000 years old, if not more.
Right, but, I mean, even there we could say, like, you know, Tolkien's elvish kind of mortal, where it's like, until she gets killed by an outside force, she's going to live forever. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know, like, I don't strictly speaking believe that she's, like, an immortal power or anything. Not compared to, like, Leah, and even the fairies can be killed. They're just not considered mortals because they're denizens of the Never Never. Right. And so there's a weird definition there, I think. But.
Also, when you're talking about all the warlocks will turn bad, it reminds me of, in Small Favor, when Harry is pointing out, do you really think the church was there to document every single time someone turned away a coin? Like, do you really think the White Council has been there to document every single time someone broke the laws and then maybe they just got away with it and ran away? There's probably a lot of people who just did it once, realized it was wrong, and then was able to not do it again.
It's possible, and what I would say to that is proven guilty. He gets, you know, after the first execution, he gets a message from the gatekeeper that says there's dark magic in your town, find it and fix it. And so, you know, dark magic as opposed to the coins leaves a residue. the church doesn't have a denarian detector that they're running around and being like, oh, here's a coin, here's where this happened. But the wizards can go and be like, hey, last week somebody like broke somebody's mind. Apparently that's just something that Rashid can do. So
I don't think so. I think that specific instance is something else, and they'll probably dedicate an entire episode to argue with you about it.
okay. Yeah, because my second point, even if that one wasn't strong enough, is that he did the same thing. Harry himself did it in Deadbeat when he was tracking down the uses of necromancy in the town, and that he was basically like, hey, there's an evil spot here, and this is.
You can notice necromantic energy, but would you notice mind thrall energy?
Yes. Well, I think that Harry only found that energy because he was specifically looking for it. He already knew that there was going to be dark magic going down, but we also know that Molly did leave kind of an energy residue after attacking her friends, because that's what attracted the fetches. So I think we kind of see that all dark magic leaves a cloud around it. No, disagree?
I'll
argue with you later.
Okay. Another
maybe
episode.
Maybe it should be another episode. Yeah. I'm fine with that. So
cool. All right, let's talk about our favorite villains. That was pretty lame. That's much better. Who wants to go first?
Justin?
Okay, fine. So I was thinking about it, and I don't like picking the obvious and cliched ones. There's plenty of fun ones to pick from, and the one that I went with was Ortega.
Really?
So
I don't think that's obvious. I didn't even think of him. Damn.
Right, and that's kind of why I was like, okay, my first three thoughts, no, that's too easy. They're still around. They're still causing mischief. I think Cowell is a fun villain as well. I want to know his story, but I think Ortega was compelling in the sense that Ortega was the guy who drew the hard line, but he didn't always necessarily just default against you. Like, I think he was relatively sincere in his, like, it doesn't have to end this way, but I know. Just so with that and the fact that it's like Ortega's the kind of guy that it's like, we can be enemies, and as long as we don't like get in each other's way, that's okay. But as soon as you cross me, I will bury you, and I will bury you under heaps of bodies if that's what it takes. And so I think he was in that line, and even before Dresden basically started the war, even before not Blood Rights, it was Death Masks, right, where they had their duel. You see him at Bianca's party, and he's like, dude, this is crazy. Like, you're about to start a war that the White Council's not going to win. He doesn't know that, but he's basically doing his bluff and trying his diplomacy thing to not turn this into something else. And Dresden, I think, still made the right call there, but that's why I liked Ortega. That, and he was like, I'll kill you on national television if it gets my job done. Like, I just liked him as a villain. So,
well, I just have to. He was a good villain, but I really don't think that he was sincere. I think he was just saying whatever he could say to kind of get in Harry's head and soften Harry up. I think he always intended to either kill Harry or enslave him. I don't think there would be any way that there wasn't going to be a favorable outcome for Harry. And just in general, like, I'm the kind of person who always hates the villain, like, or even if they're like an anti-hero, like I was talking about Frank Underwood from House of Cards, I still hate them. I hated Snape. I think Snape was a terrible, evil character, not like badly written character, but anyway, we could talk about that when we're not on this Dresden Files podcast. So I agree that he's a good villain, but I disagree that he was sincere and nice.
I think we'll find out in Mirror Mirror.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Does anyone else have anything to say about Duke Ortega? Chris.
Go ahead, Alex.
Or Alex.
Okay. Well, Jim Butcher says repeatedly, no one is the bad guy in their own story. So I think Ortega was good guy in charge, who's on the bad side?
I don't know.
I'm
think
not
that-
going that far.
Yeah, I
Right.
think there's. I think
He
there's.
did feed on kids and stuff, but he
Right.
That's he just okay. So
Minor details.
the way that he wanted to protect his people. That's what he saw as right. His people being the Red Court, and so he did things in line with that. He did things that you would find honorable, given that he wasn't a vampire and feeding on kids.
While I agree with you that good and evil is definitely subjective, especially in the Dresden Files series. I think that we still see some pretty black and white, solid evil a lot of the time, right? If you hurt innocents, or kill innocents, if you feed on children, if you massively commit these terrible acts, then you're evil. There's nothing. You're evil. Like there were ways for him to not do that, right? And I think a lot of what he says, like, it's just easier for everyone if we feed on everyone. He's just saying that to make you think, not you specifically, but make the person think that he's not evil. You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying I think he believed his own bullshit.
Yeah, but it is. But as long as we agree that it's bullshit, then I will agree with you.
Isn't like the basis of becoming a Red Court vampire killing somebody?
Yes.
Yep.
That
So-
like default, I think, makes someone
Right.
evil.
Well,
Right.
but again,
every one of them is a killer and a monster. So
I still think that doesn't necessarily make. So I'm actually kind of reversing, but I don't.
Flip-flopper.
What, Chris?
I said flip-flopper.
No, I'm not flip-flopping. I don't think that makes you evil because you have that urge to kill someone. It's one person. You're satisfying. That's different. What we're talking about is methodically, in an organized way, feeding on children. Is different than. So while I agree with you, Ruth, it's definitely not good. It's. I would go as far to say yes, it's evil because we can see that you can fight it, right? Susan fights it until the very end. But it's definitely different than what Ortega did. That's my point. Cool. Duke Ortega. I'm gonna go next. My favorite villain. I struggled with this question. It was between Cowl, Corpse Taker, and the person who I eventually picked is Lara.
Nice.
Lara. I love everything with the vampires, but especially the White Court. The White Court and the fairies are really my favorite parts of the books. And I think that she's a great character. Like, she kind of comes out of nowhere in what's Blood Rights, right?
Blood Rights.
Yeah. And takes over the White Court and holds it together. What, Ruth?
Nothing.
Oh, okay, it's a
my
radio.
walkie-talkie.
Yeah, Ruth is still at work. That's okay. I don't know. What do you guys think about Lara Wraith? Bad, good?
Well, she's definitely not good.
I mean, is she a good or bad villain?
I like her decently well as a villain. I think she definitely falls into the category if she's not the villain in her story because I think she does the White Court thing and tries to stay out of the way, but who knows how many assassinations she's orchestrated on the back end.
And how many politicians she's controlling?
Right. Right. I would love her to be the villain of my story, but Laura's a good character, so.
Wow. So I guess we can ask everyone this question, right? You are. Some of us are married. Some of us have significant others. Some of us may not. But you are faced with a White Court vampire. What do you do? Go.
If it's a girl, I'll go for it.
Nice.
That's funny. All right. So Alex, if it's a girl, she would go for it. If it's a dude?
My husband would object to that one.
Okay. Chris?
Same answer as Alex.
Do you have a husband too?
Yes. No.
Awesome.
Justin?
I guess it depends on if the love powers hold sway, right? But
Well, I mean, would you?
Oh, that's
We
true.
can. We
Yeah.
We can assume that That it will. Oh. Sorry, I didn't hear what you. Okay.
Because
Yes.
if I'm not under like if they can't touch me, then fine, rebuff whatever, because food. Even though I'd be in Harry's shoes. I'd love to, right? But I'd like to also not be a puddle of human flesh, because if I'm not being protected by the aegis of love, then I'm going to be a puddle, and then they're just going to eat me. That's what's going to happen. So, and probably guy or girl, really. Not that but vampire powers. You
Yeah.
can't help that. So.
Well, now that you brought that up, it would be kind of disappointing if they actually can feed on me.
Oh. So do you guys think that it's both ways? Like, can someone be in love with someone else and get the protection, or do they both have to be in love with each other in order to get the protection? Like,
It has to be both ways. They said that.
oh, they
It
did.
seemed- It seemed like it was one of those true love, you think this happens every day sort of scenarios. So.
The impression I got was that Justine was in love with Thomas for a long time, and Thomas just never admitted to himself, or to her, or anyone else. And so when he pulled back from her, that's when he had to admit it, that he loved her back, and that's the problem.
Nice, good reference.
Good reference, bro. Or sick reference, bro. Ruth, what about you?
Well, I would definitely love to take a turn in Thomas's salon, but otherwise, I'm not sure I'm down with the losing a few years of my life thing.
Yeah.
Great sex can be found otherwise also.
I don't think so. Not on this level, right? That's kind of the idea.
Well, then I can do without.
That is a good answer. And since my girlfriend of 2 years listens to this podcast, I definitely would not. No, seriously, I think the idea. I think that's why I love this part of the story so much. The idea that, like, you're talking about, like, the peak of beauty, right? We can't really comprehend what that means, because obviously we've never been in that position. You never will be in that position, hopefully, because hopefully white court vampires don't really exist. But that idea, right, that it is literally a force of nature, or that's like impossible to get, like, that is just so mind-boggling, right? Like, we can sit here and say, no, we wouldn't, but you never really know, right?
Right. Well, and the way I would say it is, you ever heard of Helen of Troy? I mean,
Yeah.
1,000 ships. You don't think she was a white court vampire? Seriously?
Yeah, well, they say, right, that in White Knight at the end, when they're fighting the coup attempt, that, like, this is what the gods of old were, probably vampires. They say that a couple of times.
I think they bring it up in Turncoat as well when they're in Lara's place, and that basically they're like statuesque Greek goddesses just ready to do battle.
Mm-hmm.
And he, between that and on Demon Reach, he had to look away or be consumed just by viewing it.
Mm-hmm. Wait, on Demon Reach?
Right, because they show up to have the meeting with the White Council.
Yeah, and at the end of White Knight also saying similar. Well, I guess he kind of gets into it then, right?
Right.
Yeah. That was an interesting plot point. Okay, anything else about Lara Wraith or White Court vampires or love?
In Turncoat, one of the White Court vampires got her fingers bitten off. Did those ever heal, or did they just did they grow back? I don't know exactly how they work.
I assume that they would grow back.
Okay.
Because we see that Madrigal can force shotgun balls.
But that's different than having a piece of you cut off.
Yeah, but I think we see the wound actually heal itself. I assume that they would grow back.
I think it was like a starfish situation where the fingers did grow back, and also an entire another vampire grew from the fingers.
That's an easy way to propagate.
That would be funny. All right, Ruth, favorite villain?
I don't have a favorite because I hate all villains. I'm just wired that way.
High five, same.
Yeah, but In terms of hating them, I think Mavra is on top of my list. Because she's just... Oh, I would like to kill her myself.
She needs to get hers still, so...
Yeah, exactly. And I basically hate her because she did the most damage to Harry. And well, long-lasting damage. And she's just so evil.
You know, it's funny. I thought you would have picked Nicodemus.
Well, Nicodemus too, but Nicodemus kind of has way too many layers for me to understand him yet. He does all these things for all of them different reasons, and I'm not sure what he's trying to achieve. But Maverick just seems, well, the batshit insane kind of crazy evil. So it's easier to hate her right now until I find out what Nicodemus is up to. But yeah, he's on the top of my list also.
That is true. He does have a lot of layers.
Exactly. What is he trying to do? What did he want to do with the shroud? What the hell did he want to do with the Grail? And he's so convinced that he's trying to save the world. Why? What? From what? And he's just too much big of a question mark for me to hate him. But well, he is a murderer, and I don't like him. But Mavra I hate.
Well, I'm going to let someone go after this, but see, I'm going to take it a step further. I think that Nick is on the same level that Duke Ortega was. I think he's a lot of talk, but I would not be surprised if we later find out that A, he's infected, or B, he is just not really as noble as we are meant to possibly believe that he is.
Oh, I don't think he's noble. I think he's doing what he's doing because he wants to be in a cushy place when it all goes to shit. Mm-hmm. But he's doing it in very, very elaborate ways, so it kind of makes me think that there's something more to it. Mm-hmm. Or he's just batshit.
Everybody else, not Nicodemus, Mavra, or Nicodemus, what do you guys think? Any thoughts?
I really like Mavra as a choice. That was a great choice. I want to see her get her comeuppance. I'd like to see it, sooner rather than later. But for all I know, we've seen the last of her in Deadbeat. I'm kind of in the same boat that I don't know what Nicodemus is doing. As far as the Shroud goes, though, I thought he was pretty much trying to bring on the plagues of the apocalypse. But we'll see what he does with the cup. So.
About Mavra, it's interesting. We saw her a lot in the beginning of the series. We saw her a lot, right? We saw her in book 3. I think she was involved with book 4, I think.
No.
Didn't she hire, or she wasn't involved with the assassin?
No, that was,
the Red Court?
Wasn't that Ace?
Yes, Ace. I couldn't remember his name.
So, well, we did see her a lot in book 3. We saw
and then
her.
6.
Yeah, and 6. But we haven't really seen her since, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Because Harry pretty much gave her the copy of the book and said, I still have the knowledge. If I ever see you in my town again, I'll end you. But that didn't stop Binder, so we'll see.
I think that's the situation, though. I think, early books, she was like, I can mess with Dresden and potentially kill him if need be. I think now the reason we don't see her as much is because he's gotten just that much more powerful. So that warning, while she may have taken it mildly seriously when he told her, I can perform the Dark Hallow and kill you, is definitely an actual legitimate threat now, and that's why we haven't seen her.
I doubt it. I think that their vampires' self-worth or whatever, they're just so uptight, and they think that they could rule the world. They think that they're above him. They don't see Harry as a threat, no matter how big he is or how powerful he gets. And they're still gonna think, I don't know, 100 years old, I'm gonna kick his ass. And until he kicks it right back where they came from, they're not gonna believe that Harry's any threat to them.
I don't know. At least with Mavra, her whole deal is she survived so long. she's kind of one of the last of her kind because she's so prudent and I guess careful, right?
True.
Though
Definitely true.
I share your rage, Ruth. They're so arrogant and it drives me crazy too. Okay, Chris. We didn't do you yet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My
favorite
choice is kind of boring compared to everyone else because I wasn't thinking when you said favorite villain as in terms of like series antagonist, just more of like what was your favorite person that Harry went up against. So I actually picked the Nightmare, the ghost of Kravos,
No, that's fair.
It's
That's a
That was
villain.
bad one.
yeah.
because he
He's
was
so good.
yeah, he really is. And like he's one of the at least reading the first couple of books, he's one of the ones that like seriously got to Dresden
Right.
really put him on his ass because for all the talk and the struggles he went through in books 1 and 2, there wasn't really that doubt, at least for me reading, like, well, he might not be able to handle this, but when he gets some of his power taken and he puts Murphy out of commission, which I think I hated him a little bit more for, disguising himself as Dresden and doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best insults in the entire series, anyways, when he's trying to banish him and he finally realizes who he is. And he's like, Leonid Kravitz, you second-rate fire caller, be gone! It's one of the greatest sequences between that and even when Harry's having the nightmare in the first place and going up against the demon. I think that's a great choice.
My question is, I mean, yes, they were infected by Nemesis, probably. How did Kravos get so powerful that he could do all that stuff from beyond the mortal coil, right?
I think, I don't know if it was out and out said, but it was the ritual that he died completing was actually to empower his ghost. Like he wasn't trying to do something else. That was his plan. He was giving himself power as a ghost. Either that or some of it actually worked, and that's why his ghost was so powerful.
That was part of it. The fact that he stole a decent chunk of Dresden's power was part of it. But then we've got to remember that the whole book starts out because ghosts are becoming more prominent and more powerful because the veil between the Never Never is breaking down. And I forget what was causing the turbulence. I don't remember who
it
was doing that.
Actually, it was Kravos that was doing that, though.
Oh, okay.
He was the reason it was becoming weaker.
You think it was Mavra?
It was Mavra and Bianca. They were doing it so that Kravos could kill himself and become so powerful as a ghost.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I know there was a lot going into it, similar to like Victor Sells wasn't just like some mighty warlock. He actually had to use ritual magic and storms as well, so.
Fair enough. Anything else about the Nightmare and Kravos? Cool. Alex, favorite villain?
Well, I started this with an idea, but you guys have confused me. So I guess I'd say I like the villains that keep getting scarier. Like Nicodemus, as you learn more about him, and he's like verging more to like a really confused bad guy, he's more interesting. But we saw him actually lose in Skin Game, so he's not as much scary. Tessa,
Right.
however, is confusing as fuck, and I really want to know what her deal was. But Lara, as she's getting more powerful, I'm just getting more excited to see when Harry and Lara butt heads. And so basically the ones that keep getting scary.
I could totally see Lara like becoming elected or getting elected as like a congresswoman or something. Could you see that?
Yeah, totally.
Potentially, but that's not how the White Court rolls, though.
Yeah.
You're their pawns, you're their cards. They don't get their hands dirty, not directly anyway. So.
But it would be so funny. All that talking about House of Cards, like, come on. No, I get what you're saying. That's true.
Yeah. So Alex, sorry to interrupt. Who else? Who else scares you that's getting powerful? Because you mentioned Lara, and I can kind of agree with that, but I can't think of anybody else for some reason.
Well, I suppose it's all of the outsiders too. I mean, they come in, they fuck shit up, but we don't really know what's going on. And then Nemesis can be anywhere. You can't know where Nemesis is. So actually, maybe it's just say Nemesis is my favorite villain.
Yeah.
Nice. I agree with that.
Man. What a freaky thing.
Right?
Talk about overpowered, right? That's so OP. Can just invade anyone's mind, and it's really difficult to get it out.
Well, it's really difficult to get it out, and they have to want to get it out. Like, Maeve,
Right.
she was perfectly happy being infected like that. The Cat Sith, he seemed to be having problems. And Leah, she seems to really revere the way that the Fey courts work, so she wants to go back to being non-infected. And
with Leah, that one's a little hard because I think she is loyal to her queen, and certainly more so after the brutal torture and removal of Nemesis. But I'm kind of curious, like if we look at the people who have been infected, like they've all, like you mentioned, they kind of wanted it in the first place. I don't think we have fully identified the mechanism that keeps people safe, because you're going to tell me that in no part in the last 15 years in the Dresden verse did Nemesis try and just take Harry outright. You know, maybe that's what Dumorn was trying to do in the first place, potentially, or something. But Cat Sith is the only one that we've actually seen actively try and resist it. Everybody else has just been on board, it seems.
Leah.
And she got it beat out of her, I think. So Mab was like, "No, you don't."
Well, in small favor, when Harry was talking to her and she was a she-sickle, she was actively fighting it so that he could go away before she lost control, and he listened to her to let her go.
That's fair.
I think Harry not being infected probably has more to do with whatever Margaret did before he was born, and him being a Starborn.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, me too.
He has the power to fight the outsiders. Do you guys think that Elaine is also a Starborn?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't, Ruth?
No, I think Elaine was brought in as a means to keep Harry under Dumorn's control.
I don't agree with that, because it seems pretty well. I mean, I think that's part of it, right? And that's certainly, he used that to his advantage, but that wasn't why he got Elaine in the first place, because I thought it was all but said that they were born within a month or two of each other, and that she pretty much equally fit this. So my question is every, White Council level wizard a Starborn in that thing, or is there only one because they're the chosen one and it just happens to be Harry? I don't know.
Yeah, I always took it as like a chosen one type thing. It's Harry, and
maybe Dumorn thought it was kind of a Harry Potter Neville Longbottom thing, that they fit the description, both of them, and he didn't know which one it was.
I mean, the way Maeve said it in Cold Days is, "I will kill a Starborn." So there's multiple. It's not that only Harry is a Starborn. And I do remember it being said somewhere that Elaine was within the same couple weeks as Harry. So there's something there. I think we're at least meant to think she is one.
Right. I agree with that, and it's interesting you brought up the whole, like, she'll kill a Starborn, because that kind of makes me think of it, the Starborn is like the Slayer of the Dresden verse versus, like, the Buffy Whedonverse. Just because maybe if Dresden does die, he is the chosen one, but there's, like, a whole bench of backup players ready to pick that up in an instant. And certainly Mab has said that she'll train Thomas, so she's got a backup plan. But interesting.
I remember there being a theory out there that Nicodemus was a Starborn too, so who knows?
I had not heard that one.
That is pretty interesting.
That'd be crazy.
The sentence, "I'm not going to kill a Starborn," it could also mean that being a Starborn, there's just some sort of specific coincidence of, I don't know, stars, whatever, and it happens, let's say, every 500 years, and every 500 years there is a Starborn. Maybe it's that, maybe it's one in every generation, but Nicodemus has lived longer than his generation.
Oh, something to do with the time frame is, like, if it is every year, then there is a chance of, like, say, a month time that any person with magical ability could be born during the year. It's probably a couple hundred people at a chance. But then I thought, like, what about Maggie? Was she born within the time frame to be a Starborn too?
Like which Maggie? Maggie Mama Maggie or Maggie
Baby
Daughter
Maggie.
Maggie?
There's Margaret and then there's Maggie.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I think the time frame was that Susan would have gotten pregnant in mid-February, which would lead her to be mid-November born, and I don't know if that would count.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of got the idea that Margaret had she knew what was going on, right? She obviously, so I don't know. I think there's way more chance that Maggie is not a Starborn because Harry didn't mean for it to happen, right? Magic is what you believe.
Yeah, it does seem like it's kind of dangling in front of us, so I wouldn't assume that she is, but it was a possibility.
No, it's good. Awesome. Anything else about villains, guys? Now, Ruth and I are the only ones who truly hate the evil characters, right?
Oh, I would absolutely fight them all in a duel to the death if I had the power. I mean, let's not get that wrong. But, but there are compelling villains, and you want to see, similar, maybe a little bit of the Knight of the Cross there. That can you redeem them and bring them back towards the light? If there's any redeeming factor in there, but yeah, they're all despicable.
Some people like to root for the villain, It doesn't make you necessarily a bad person. Sometimes the villains are the most interesting characters. That's kind of
Johnny
that's
Marco is a very compelling character, but he's definitely not a good one.
Nope, he's a dick. He deserves to die in a fire.
No,
Seriously.
I don't agree with that.
I
Johnny
really
Marco is very good for the underworld of Chicago because he keeps it organized, and organized crime is a bit better than chaos. But he's definitely not good.
But he could put his talents to such better use, right? He's still breaking the law. He's still dealing drugs and killing people, and
That's true. He's
an evil person.
Yeah,
I'm going to argue with you about that. I mean, he's doing things against the law. He's dealing drugs, but he won't involve children, which I think is a very big point in his favor.
But he's still ruining the lives of those children by dealing drugs to their parents. Right? He doesn't background check every one of his
Correct.
customers.
Right.
Do you have kids? Sorry, I can't deal drugs to you.
Is there a question of free will in that? Like, they have the free will to buy it too.
Mm-hmm.
And do you really want him to be getting into that? I don't know. And you won't let a kid be directly involved. It's about it as much as he can do. And you don't know what he's using his power for yet. He's working very closely with Odin and Einherjarn and Gard, and they do things for good, or most people think it's good. So,
Yeah.
fine.
Maybe
I don't
he's just
know.
trying to build karma points.
Yeah, and he's trying to get in with the heavy hitters in the magic community. And also, to kind of counter your point, he could also just not deal drugs, right?
And then someone else would do it. There's no way to stop something like that. You can just possibly make it safer.
I hate Marco, and I really want him to die in a fire.
I mean, he's a dick, but he's not a villain.
Oh, that's
He's a
fair.
dick, but he's our dick, so.
Yes.
I'm sure that this is a conversation that will continue soon in another episode. On the horizon, we're going to be ranking all of the books in order. That's coming up. Maybe not next episode, but it's coming soon. We mentioned the fifth episode, which will be after the next episode is the fourth, and then we'll have the fifth episode. We might do something Denarian related, because 5. Yeah, so it's been over an hour, so we're gonna bring this episode to a close. You can find us at DresdenFilesPodcast.com. You should be able to find all the links there. Our Twitter is twitter.com/DresdenCast. Feel free to tweet at us any complaints or suggestions, or you disagree with us about who's your favorite villain, get at us. Also, DresdenFilesPodcast@gmail.com. Did I say that already? For email. Find us on /r/DresdenFiles. I always get the posts for each episode stickied, so you can comment there. The YouTube. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a custom URL yet, but if you search the Dresden Files podcast on YouTube, we come up. And also the RSS feed should be working, and you can also find us in the this is a lot of stuff. You can also find us in the iTunes store, the podcast, the audio. If you search Dresden Files podcast in the iTunes store, or if you add the RSS feed, feeds.feedburner.com/the Dresden Files podcast. Of course, you can find all those links at DresdenFilesPodcast.com. Thanks for listening or watching or however you have consumed this episode, and we'll see you in about a month. Thank you so much.